Well, last night I laid in bed kind of kicking myself for not taking the little 5 inch across the tops of the trees over towards the orchard or out into the front yard of our property and testing return to home. But I knew in my heart of hearts that I didn't have the battery for that. If I got in trouble with that little 1400 milliamp hour battery, I could sort of break or lose the quad. So I kind of vowed to myself before I went to sleep, I'm going to do that today. I'm going to put the big battery back on it, and I'm going to take it on the other side of the trees, drop it down below the tops of the trees, and hit return to launch. And this is the way it was configured for the test flight. I used the 4,000 milliamp hour lithium ion battery, mounted it sideways instead of straight up and down. It seems to have gone okay. So here's the walk Snell video with overlay. I sat there waiting on satellites to lock up, to the point where the video transmitter started overheating. I started the props up for a few seconds trying to put air across it to cool it down. It did cool down, but 30 seconds later it was back complaining about overheating. So after quite a few minutes of sitting there after that, I decided just to take it up. I was wanting to see if there was any jello. There isn't really jello. There's still some vibration in there. Not too bad, though. I can live with that. So I decided, because I couldn't get any satellites to lock up on the ground, I'd just pop it up in the air. The higher up it gets here, the more the sky opens up above me. And I just was kicking my butt that yesterday I had 10 satellites locked up at one point, and I didn't try a return to home. I could have done it as simply as just going to the front of the house here on the other side and hit it. But hindsight's 2020. So I kept waiting and waiting and waiting while I was hovering in altitude hold mode for satellites to lock up so I could go into loiter mode and do some of those things. You see blue skies here? Well, it's about 1:30ish, 1:48. They're telling us we're going to have bad thunderstorms at 3 o'clock with tornado warnings. I kind of ignored that and went out and flew. See, now I've got 4 satellites locked up. That's not enough. It's set to 8. So I started sneaking up the altitude a little more, trying to get more and more of the sky above me opened up. There I am, going up a little more. Just easing it up, nothing crazy. Just wanting 8 or more satellites to lock up. That's all I wanted today. They locked up yesterday, so easy. Not today. It was quite windy, but I'm kind of sheltered here. Maybe not so much in the direction I'm facing right now because of the distance where there's no trees, but on the other 3 sides there's tall trees really close in. We're at the 3-minute mark hovering now, and I've still only got 4 satellites. Can't go into loiter at this point. Don't think. I think I tried it the other day and it failed. So I'm just going, man, why am I not getting 10 satellites like yesterday? I know why. I know it varies from moment to moment, constantly. If I took a shot straight up from where I fly from in the backyard, you'd see there's just trees everywhere. So close, it isn't even funny. So we're approaching 4 minutes. I'm going, God, why only 4 still? So what I wanted to do is not happening simply because I can't get the number of satellites locked up. I'm not worried about the battery. The battery's down to 23 volts right now. That's not a big deal. It's the lithium ion. It can go down to 18, well, theoretically. So I started trying to go up in altitude a little higher. And still 4 sats. No, it's only about 60 feet up right now, but from the ground, a little 5-inch looks fairly small. You can see how much the trees are blowing around if I got above them. Still, I'm up to 70 feet now and 4 sats. So when I saw it had hit the 5-minute mark, I just was giving up. I really think this on that battery would fly 20 to 25 minutes. That hasn't been tested yet. Needs to be more than a hover like this. By the way, with that battery on it, it hovers at almost 3 amps more than with the little light battery on it. So here's me coming back down to land saying, there's 5 sats. Still not enough. 4 again. So it was fairly successful. Flies with the big battery. Jello seems to be solved. Might need to be re-auto-tuned. What I wanted to try with this flight just didn't happen. Let's look at the data flash log for that flight. Just for kicks and grins. I love telemetry to a fault. I like telemetry to my ground station. Right now I'm getting the platforms back every flight so I can take it out of the platform. But without having it transmitted to the ground in real time to Mission Planner, if it flies off someplace lost in space forever, I got nothing. When they come back and land, that isn't as big a problem as when they fly off someplace and you wonder why it happened. So the time that I need the data the most is if it's transmitted real time from my platforms to my ground control station telemetry. That's why I'm such a stickler for telemetry as much as I can. Let's see a few things about this flight. Battery, just for kicks and grin. What was the current? You can see here this flight started about 18 minutes after 1 and run to 24 minutes after 1. Current, this would be 7.5 amps. Probably average 7.5 amps. You can right click and show point values, and now this will show you exactly 7.57, 8479 amps, 8.4868, 65. You can just point wherever and it'll tell you. Down as low right here is 6.83. It flies about 5 amps, 6 at the most, with the smaller battery on it. Voltage started out at 25.5 volts. 4 minutes it was down to 22.5. I got almost 5 volts or 4 volts left to go. Quite a bit of flight time in my humble opinion. I think it will go between 20 and 25 minutes. Maybe just 15 to 20 minutes, but somewhere in there. We'll find out at some point. Let's see. What else is interesting in here? GPS. Yeah, the number of satellites. It did get up to 5 at one point there near the end, but it just didn't. Got to 3 or 4 here pretty quick. About a minute in. Look at the vibration. X. A little longer data, getting more data flash information each flight, and flights are getting longer now, like they should be. Slowly sneak up on it. Nothing above 15 here today for X vibrations. Vibrations in the y-axis. Below 12. Fairly consistent. I like that. And Z. Not much there at all. Some spikes. I suspect that's from taking off and landing. So, coming along, didn't get what I wanted because I just didn't lock up enough satellites. And I got fatigue sitting there. I don't have very much sight of it in that little backyard. It's like 25 feet by 25 feet. And it's straight up. There isn't much real estate. I got to keep it in that little small area so it doesn't go out of sight, like behind me, behind the tops of the trees where I can't see it anymore. But I do have and did have the monitor on it so I can see out the front. That's my sort of fail-safe. I hoped I could bring it back into my view. Or if it flies too far forward, goes behind the eave of the roof, I can no longer see it, which does make me nervous at this point because return to home, etc., hasn't been tested. Thank you, guys.